What up, nation? Welcome to something different. Got a little bit of a different type of show for you guys. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And we're always looking to improve our content, always looking to deliver the goods, so to speak, on DFS content in general. So what I've decided to do is have a midday show. I'm thinking maybe we could do this Monday through Friday, but only if you guys like it. If you guys don't think it's helpful, if you don't like it, we won't do it. But I wanted to kind of go through. I have WiseTake's projections up, and I wanted to have like a game-by-game breakdown. I know we do the Wise stream leading into lock, and I love that show, but I wanted to make that show a little bit more, going over heightened exposures, going over like Q&A, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to have something different where we have time to do some of those breakdowns so we don't feel rushed and we have an opportunity to discuss some of the plays and the situations we're in. And I figured it'd be a good idea to pull up our projections because those of you subscribe to WiseTake.com, a lot of you doing MMA are using them. So to have an idea of how they work, understand what you agree with, maybe you can make adjustments as you go along also. So if you like this, please leave it in the chat or in the comments, whatever the case may be, depending when you watch it. We'll see what we can do, see if we can make it work Monday through Friday. No promises, but with that said, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live or put out content. We do a lot of DFS content. We're trying to get as much as possible on here to keep it growing. So don't miss out. Make sure you hit the notifications bell. We do a show Monday through Friday before lock, going into lock, where we try to answer some questions, give out some updates on injuries, things like that. So go check it out. And if you're looking for some real, if you're looking for more DFS help, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as the DFS community designed to help make you, people like you, better DFS players. So go check us out, WiseTake.com. You can try our content out for $2.50. We've got something for all different types of skill levels, projections, cheat sheets, articles, and of course we do the live stream. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. On the weekends, on Saturdays, we do the live stream also. We just do it only for our subscribers. So. With that said, if you are watching now, whenever you're watching, please smash that like button if you like the video and want to see us continue doing these. The likes go a long way, allow us to continue to do content for free. So if you can smash that like button, it'll go a long way. And I'm open to any kind of criticism on this. So if there's like something you'd like to see, obviously I just threw this sheet together. This is pulling from different sources. It's from our projections, but if there's something in there that you think, we can try to make work. I'm not some wizard with this shit, but if there's something I think I can make it happen, I'll make it happen. So you guys just let me know. With that said, we're going to go game by game on this show. There's injury news coming in as we go, so I'll try to make some of the adjustments. We did get some stuff in. I'm going to start off with the first game, which is the Washington Wizards and the Detroit Pistons now. What's interesting is this is the only game that starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. We only got 6 games, so it's not bad. I would imagine this show could be a real pain in the ass on a 12-13 game slate, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. In the meantime, I think that this is the only game that's really going to lock at 7 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, doesn't matter. But it's an interesting game. You got the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards. We've got a 6.5 total. The Pistons are 6.5 point favorites. And we have a high game total. Opened up at 231. It's down at 229. But it's still 229, which is currently the highest on the slate right out the gate. So you got some decisions to make early. We'll start off with I think I have the Detroit players pulled up, but we're going to start off with the Washington side, actually. So let's go to Washington right quick. And, all right, so one of the more interesting pieces of information we got from Washington was that Jordan McRae is going to play today. Naturally, his price is crazy low on both sites. On DraftKings, you can see at 3,200, he's projecting for almost 6x, and that's with a 19.25 minute projection, which is, I think, right now somewhat conservative. He missed time for a finger, so he did miss some time, but it was for a finger. It wasn't for like an ankle or some lower body injury. So as thin as they are, being that they ended up playing Gary Payton, who, no offense to him, he balled out in his opportunity. I thought that this price was kind of interesting, and it's going to garner some ownership. We know McRae is there for his scoring, his shooting. That's mainly what his purpose is there. Ironically, in that game against the Knicks, the last game the Wizards played, they did win that game. Ish Smith played really well, but Ish Smith only got like 25 minutes, which is kind of weird because IT2 was out and is still out because he's still suspended. I thought that was strange. So probably something I'll look into after the show. Popcorn machine to try to figure out what's going on. But on DraftKings, he's looking like the strongest one. Bradley Beal, we have currently projected for 36, 37 minutes. I'll probably raise that. I still think he plays more 38, 39, 40. So that is something that we will raise over the course of the day, and we'll probably get him up. I mean, he's only going to project for maybe somewhere in the fives when we do that. But again, from a raw points perspective, that should be enough to get him into some of your teams as far as like optimizers and whatnot. Ish Smith is a pretty big question mark to me. So, again, 30.5 minute projection, which last time against the Knicks, I had him projected for a lot more than that because thinking he's the only point guard. So I was very, very stunned to see him play. I think he may have gotten hurt, actually. Now that I think about it, I think he may have gotten hurt. I didn't see anything on him that would make me think, but I feel like he hurt his finger or something. But I don't see that he's questionable or anything. But I remember, I live in New Jersey, so I was watching a Knicks game, and I remember like them saying something. I kept seeing him shake his hand, like he hurt his hand or something. But evidently, we expect him to play. On FanDuel, the price is really low. It's very, very tempting. We've got some interesting plays on here, but on FanDuel, Ish pops a lot more. 6-1 for Ish is even with no backup is a little nerve-wracking just because it's Ish. But $5K, I mean, that's not really much of a price increase from what we were paying last time. So I think on FanDuel, Ish stands out. Troy Brown, I'm a little worried about because we were huge on Troy Brown against the Knicks. We were really heavy. He was in our core articles. A lot of our cores. I think I was double the field on him. I think that day we went for 50. It was awesome. But the reason I was on him is because they were missing all these guys that take shots. So I figured he'd take more shots. I still like Troy Brown, but the price is up. Similar to Ish Smith, he projects better on FanDuel. He's $5K over there. So Ish and Brown, I'm not saying I don't like him on DraftKings, and again, these projections I will tweak throughout the day. I will raise some of these minute expectations, everything else, lower some. So we'll see what we end up on. We'll see what we end up on. Those of you who subscribe to WiseTake.com do have access to the projections, and I update them even on the Wise stream going into I'm still updating them shit. So because these are the ones I use. Gary Payton, so he's projecting high. I'm going to have to adjust this probably manually because I keep trying to lower the minutes piece by piece, but that was the only sample we had for the season, so he's projecting way higher than he should. With that said, on 5A, I don't think he was ever really in the conversation for me on DraftKings. I'll admit he played extremely hard. But I would assume with McRae back that maybe that eats into him a little bit. Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Curious to see how they play McRae. But Gary Payton was super impressive. The problem is I just have a hard time paying 5.8 on DraftKings. Even though he balled and 5.8 wouldn't have been a problem with what he did last time, I'm a little reluctant. On FanDuel, again, a different conversation. He's only 4K. So it looks like in general the Washington players are a little easier to like, I guess, off the gate on FanDuel because a lot of them are priced a little bit softer. So again, I'll raise Beal now just to see what it'll do. Beal is... obviously the usage is phenomenal. He's playing phenomenally. It's glorious. But if we raise his minutes to 38 or so. Let's see. Let's wait for it to pop up in here. Boom. So realistically, aside from clicking a like button on an optimizer or forcing him in, this is a situation where we're gonna have to raise him a little bit. So say we go 40, which I don't think 40's unrealistic if this game is close and they feel like they need him. Plus, it happens to be a pretty good matchup, right, against Detroit. Wings have sliced Detroit. Last time Beal played Detroit, was in Detroit on 12-16. He went for 58.25 DraftKings points. Played 37 minutes. Against the Knicks, Beal played 37 minutes with a 45.8% usage rate. Against Philly, he played 38 minutes. Against Toronto, he played 39. So I don't think it's out of the realm to project him for 40 for the purposes of making sure that, if you want some of him, you end up with some of him. But, yeah, interestingly enough. Ian Mahinmi, you figure he's going to see a lot of minutes today. He's not projecting terribly on either side. FanDuel again. So it looks like the Washington side naturally using our projections the way they are now. I say that because again we're going to be updating them throughout the day as we get some of this news. But as of now, a lot of the Washington players are a lot easier to play on FanDuel. Jordan McRae certainly looking like a standout and is going to be a difference maker on both sides. 3,700, and again, we have him projected for 19 minutes. That's low considering how thin they were. If he would have never gotten hurt, he'd probably be playing 20 to 25 minutes a game minimum. Who knows? Maybe he would have taken somebody's job. As we know, Bertans is still out, Mo Wagner's still out, Hachimura's out, Bryant's out, CJ Miles out, IT2 suspended. That's just the situation they're in. All right, spent a lot of time on Washington, but for good reason. Highest total on the game, on the slate. Next up, we got Detroit. So right out the gate, Luke Kennard is going to be out. We're still waiting on some news for guys. I think Blake is probable, I believe. Yeah. Blake is probable. We'll just pull this up so I can follow along on the other computer. Bruce Brown missed the last game. He's questionable. So that could have an impact on guys like Tim Frazier, who's very, very cheap on both sides. Frazier didn't, we went in on him the other day. He didn't smash for us, but he didn't kill us either. Got like a 17 or 18. He was like min price, so he didn't kill us. And he's close to that again. He's really cheap. Assuming Blake is in, that puts me up in the air on Markieff, Christian. The whole thing for Detroit. You know who kind of stands out with Kennard out is maybe Svi for the value. Svi Mikhailachuk. I don't know. But he's 3,800 on FanDuel, 3,700 on DraftKings. He's not projecting well, but we're projecting him for 26 minutes. How many minutes did he actually play? Now, again, if Brown is out, I think that raises his minutes. He played 32 minutes against Philly. So I think if Bruce Brown is out, he's going to be a value play that kind of rises to the top a little bit and will stand out for us. Langston Galloway obviously would also enter that conversation. I think he ended up playing more than Frazier as well. He played 31 minutes. The problem, of course, is very, very scoring dependent. And even in the 31 minutes, even with all those players out, he only took 8 shots. Shot 2 for 8. Maybe that's why. Maybe he would have shot more if he didn't play like shit. But it's interesting. Andre Drummond is only 9,500 on FanDuel, projecting really well over there. Wouldn't be surprised if it gave you a good amount of him. Bruce Brown on DraftKings, I don't love. I've been burned by him a couple times, but on FanDuel, he's really, really cheap again. And if he does play, he's in consideration, I think. Derrick Rose, another one that on FanDuel just kind of stands out. It's funny because FanDuel's known for pricing guys higher than DraftKings, but we've seen a lot of situations today with at least this first game where it's been the opposite. This game in general just seems to be easier to approach on FanDuel, which is interesting because I would expect, because there's no late swap over there, I would assume and expect that the first games are even more popular on FanDuel. So it's funny that they lower the prices of these guys, like kind of heightening that ownership a little bit more, I think. I don't know. Could be overthinking it. All right, let's move on. We've got the next game, which is the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. I know I like this game. All right, we'll go over the Knicks first. They're the road team. We'll do the road teams first. At least we'll try to. Let's go to the Knicks. So off gate, we know Elfrid Payton's going to project well. Why? Because his minute floor, you would expect, unless he gets into foul trouble or gets hurt or something, or just plays like awfully, you would expect his minute floor to be relatively high with Dennis Smith Jr. out. Dennis Smith Jr. not playing a ton anyway, but him being out is one less body that could take away from Elf. With that said, Elf has got a friendly price on both sides, so he naturally projects for over 6x on both, and that's with a 28-minute expectation. If we raise that, or if he were to play 29 and 30, we know Elf is a high upside player. He's got a phenomenal matchup against Brooklyn. Not a good defensive team. They play very fast. Not a good rebounding team either. So there's a lot of opportunity here for Elf to grab some extra boards, to get some assists, also score. He certainly stands out. Julius Randle, we are waiting on news on Marcus Morris. If Marcus Morris is out, I think we have to raise Randle's minutes even up from 32. And he's already looking like a pretty solid play, especially on DraftKings at 6,800. He's been playing a lot better. We saw him ball out when Marcus Morris was out the last game. If Marcus Morris is in, his price ain't bad. Like, we've got a conservative projection for him too at 27 minutes, but realistically, if he plays, we got to consider he's got a banged up Achilles. So we got to think about that. Maybe we leave his minute projection where it is. But if he's like a full go, if we hear he's a full go, you got to expect him to get around 30 or more. And if that's the situation, his price on both sides is too low, similar to Elf. I like Elf a lot better, obviously, because I think Elf has more peripheral access, whereas Marcus Morris has become a little more scoring dependent. The positives, of course, is he's shooting very well this year, at least from 3, which is huge on DraftKings. But I'm definitely interested in a lot of these Knicks. I think that Elf and Randall are my favorites to start. Marcus Morris, got to see if he plays. If he's out again, boost everyone else. Mitchell Robinson has a phenomenal matchup against Brooklyn, who's not good against centers. I don't love the price on FanDuel as of right now. Could be hard to reach. Got to check the status on Taj Gibson. I think he's been sick. So we'll see. If they're going to do that, then he's going to take away 12 minutes or whatever it is that he's been playing. 13.25, taking that away from our guys, which is annoying. RJ Barrett on FanDuel, looking pretty good at 5.5. On DraftKings at 6K, I think it's fine for tournaments. He's obviously not getting the... There was a time where we would just do it no matter what at this price. There was a time. Barrett played 36 minutes against Washington, but only 33 against Milwaukee, 20 against Miami. And granted, the Knicks get blown out every other day. But the minutes are a little unstable, so it's hard to project them too high. But, obviously those first two guys we talked about, Elf and Randall, stand out the most, especially on DraftKings. Elf looking like a solid play all across the board. And then some other things to consider, like Kevin Knox will get more, you would think would get more run, maybe Dotson. If Marcus Morris is out, they need some of those guys to come in and shoot threes, and Knox and Dotson do that. You like that. Let's go on to the other side of this game. The Brooklyn Nets side was the side that I was a little more concerned about. Let's see. So, yeah, because the pricing, at least on DraftKings, it was a little more elevated on these guys. It makes sense. So, as you can see on DraftKings right now, on a raw minute projection, just going up raw minutes without adjusting much, not very many Brooklyn Net players project well. So, not sure how many of these guys end up in your teams, which is kind of weird because this is an attractive game. I don't think I went over the total or anything, but this game has a 8-point spread. The Nets are favored by 8 at home, a 224.5 total, which, after that, it's not that far off the first game, which is Washington Detroit. It's not the second highest. You still got Memphis, OKC, San Antonio, Spurs, but they're all pretty close. With that said, being that I like so many Knicks in tournaments, if I want to get some game stacks, I'm going to have to look at some of these guys. And again, on FanDuel, it's not even hard. Like Garrett Temple stands out like a 4,300 on FanDuel compared to 5,800 on DraftKings. Like, that's wild. Again, that's why one of the reasons I like doing this is because you kind of really see it in perspective when you're looking at the two different sites. And obviously, I know there's Yahoo, there's other sites, but FanDuel and DraftKings are the two biggest, so that's what we're rolling with right now. Joe Harris, 4,600 on FanDuel. You can really take advantage of these prices. Tarian Prince, 4,800. You can see on DraftKings, you're gonna if you want these guys, you're gonna overpay. You can make an argument for Jared Allen not being an overpay, but that comes down to the minutes. If Jared Allen was guaranteed to play 30-plus minutes, I don't think it's an overpay, but he's not guaranteed that. You got DeAndre Jordan, who's capable back there, better defensively. Dinwiddie's the obvious one, right? Especially with Nitty going back to the bench, assuming he's on the bench. The Knicks are not they don't have very good actual defenders. Like Elf, in my opinion, Nitty, that's the one thing Nitty does well, is he does defend the point guard well when he's not getting into foul trouble. But Dinwiddie's the one I think you want to try to make to work on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you can make a case for a lot of these guys. In fact, Dinwiddie's one of the less attractive players on this team on FanDuel because the other guys are priced so well. Garrett Temple, Joe Harris, Tarian Prince, they're all priced so well. On DraftKings, who's interesting is Wilson Chandler. He's not projecting well, but we'll have to take a look at that. They've been easing his minutes up. He's going to have to earn it. But, again, on DraftKings right now, it just looks difficult to grab too many nets. But we'll have to see what happens where we end up. Maybe there's some room to elevate Dinwiddie's projection. I don't know. We'll see. On to the next, though. Where are we at? Okay. So this next one, I'm going to have to do some live updating. Because right before I went live, we got some news here. So we'll have to see. But the next game is the Memphis Grizzlies visiting the Oklahoma City Thunder. We've got OKC as 5.5-point favorites. We've got a 223.5 game total. Again, you can see it's pretty close. So we'll start off with the Memphis side. The OKC side is where we got some news. Jonas Valanciunas looking like the best on a projection standpoint. That's with a pretty conservative minute projection at 26. He has had games where he's played that little. He's had some games where he's played a little more. like a lot of centers who are active offensively, he's a relatively high point per minute type player. He played 25 minutes against San Antonio, went for 38 DraftKings points. Before he got hurt, he was on a roll. Against Cleveland, 30 minutes. This was 3 days before, so maybe this is well after his injury. Either way, 30 minutes against Cleveland, 26 against OKC, 25 against Miami. So the 30 is rare. If you get the 30, that's how you pop in tournaments. If they get some foul trouble from Jaren Jackson Jr. and Clark's not cutting it, then that's where we can see that happen. But so Joe Val projecting as one of the better plays. He's got Adams down there, who's just a big body, so it's not going to be an easy path. But that works both ways, because with Adams on the court, they may need him. Now, they do have Nerlens Noel, who OKC has played a good amount in the back, so they could match up with Brandon Clark and kind of do that thing. But for tournaments, it makes sense. John Morant's price has come down. The minutes have been funky with him. Like, they were babying him in the beginning. We were all like, why? They finally opened him up, let him play 30+, and the next thing you know, he had to miss some time for load management because he had like a sore back or something like that. Let's take a look at Morant's minutes. Morant's played 30, 30, 29, 33, 32. So it's possible, similarly, that he gets up there, but it's hard to project him for more than the 30. The price has come down, so in tournaments, I'm going to want some. There's no doubt. I don't love the fact that he's going to see Chris Paul defense. Not that I'm terribly afraid of Chris Paul at his age, at his skill level at this point, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a soft matchup. Dylan Brooks has been impressive. We're starting to see him kind of come into his own. The price isn't bad. There's some meat on that bone, so to speak. And he's somebody. So he played 25 minutes against the San Antonio Spurs, had 4 fouls. Before that, though, 30, 33, 33. I know that there were some injuries in between with certain people, but he has become a staple, and he's taken double-digit shots in every game. His last 4 games, 12 shots, 16 shots, 13 shots, 11 shots, and that 11 was only in the 25 minutes. So I think his projection, his minute projection is maybe a little low. So maybe let's see what happens. We raise him to 30. Say on a safe, like, because I think we can go for 30 and still consider that being like safe. Let's see what happens to him. It's gonna populate. Projecting a lot better, right? Especially on DraftKings where you get credit. 3-pointers are a little extra. He's projecting well. I can dig it. Jaren Jackson, kind of interesting. We know the matchup may have just gotten a little bit better with Gallo out, just because Basley's going to be in there. Young guy, you know what I'm saying? It's interesting. Crowder, certainly also a standout guy. Similar. Him and Brooks are very similar. Whichever one's having the better shooting night is going to be the one doing the dirty. On DraftKings, we got Brooks projected higher. Crowder, too. It looks like on FanDuel, too. But, yeah, just more of a tournament situation. I think the other side of this game, as of right now, is a little more attractive. Being that Memphis is one of the faster teams in the league, does not play good defense normally. And OKC is going to be without Danilo Gallinari again. So let's look at this. I got some updates I got to make. So Nerlens Noel always projects well. He's a high per minute player. The issue, of course, is getting his minutes right. Chris Paul's matchup is phenomenal, man. John Morant's defense is just atrocious, right? Just atrocious. You can see here we have Gallo. So the minutes for a lot of these players are going to ultimately end up going up throughout the course of the day. Right now, we'll analyze this. But even Chris Paul, I may have to raise up to 33 and change. Nothing crazy. Adams, maybe we move up a tick. Shai Alexander's already projecting for a lot of minutes. That's interesting. Schroeder has been smashing, and he's another one who, with Gallo out, should be on the court more. Should get more opportunities to play with Shai and Paul. So this side of the ball, and you can see from a projection standpoint, like you see a little bit more green here, it looks like. And you're going to see more because we're only going to raise some of these minutes. The usage is going to go up without Gallo on the court. The minutes going to go up for some of these guys. Basley, for example, is 3,900. He played in the last game. He played 25 minutes against the Clippers in a close game. So and he went for 23.5 DraftKings points, which isn't anything crazy, but for a value player, it's not bad. The game before that, he played 18 minutes. I think Gallo played this game. Went for 20 and 18. So he's just been playing well, been a little bit more efficient while he's been on the court. So yeah, let me just go ahead and Let's get let's find Gallinari real quick and just remove his ass. Gallo. It should populate 82nd. Just make sure it works. Boom. Dropping dirties on him. Straight 0 burgers. So there you go. We'll have to increase Basley. Say we increase Basley to, just for example, I'll go back after the show and kind of take another look. But for now, say we raise him to, say, 24, which I think is somewhat conservative. See what happens. See if he goes anywhere. Basley. It didn't raise a ton. I mean, he just hasn't been a high per minute player. So, I don't know. Maybe it would take a lot of minutes to get him to finally, populate. Something to keep an eye on. But yeah, Schroeder, Shea Alexander, Chris Paul, those 3 guys I'll take a look at hard. The matchup's pretty solid for them all. Looks like Adams is kind of popping on FanDuel over there. 5.7 projection. 5.7x projection because he's 5,900. That's interesting. But Chris Paul, the guards, right? Attacking Memphis with guards sounds like a good situation. And then also when I think about it, it makes me like the Crowders and the Brooks, the forwards, a little bit more on the Memphis side because they're gonna see like somebody's gonna get shorter defense, and that's just one of the best things you can really bank on. So again, guys, as we go on throughout the day, I'll be updating these minutes and I'll get them a little more accuratified. The Gallo news kind of came right before we went live, so what are you gonna do? 732, and I don't want to sit here and just bore you guys to fucking death while I update this shit. Haven't looked at the chat because I got shit on my screens, but if there's anybody got any questions, I think we can go over a little bit. Again, this show is more just a game by game kind of thing, and you can kind of see from a projection standpoint what guys are standing out just from a raw number standpoint, not without any human factor. Our projections have a lot to do with pace. We try to, we take the paces and try to project the pace, see if we can predict as many, as close as we can to how many possessions we think are possible, and it incorporates in our projections. So these projections are downloadable from WiseTake.com. They don't look like this. I'll show you what they look like after we do this breakdown, but you can actually download them. Again, I update, so you're going to have to keep downloading them throughout the day if that's what you want to do as we get the news, or just download them a little bit later, but you can update them, upload them into the optimizer of your choice. I use Fantasy Cruncher myself, but there's RotoGrinders. There's all kinds of companies you can try. As long as they allow you to update your own projections, you can use ours. But you got to be a member. All right, let's see. Next up, we've got the San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks. So the key news here, which is why he's the cover boy, of course, is, I almost clicked the wrong thing, is Luka Doncic. Did I finally just say his name right on the first try? So it's interesting for multiple reasons. Number one, Luka is the guy we're going to want to play. We have him projected for 32.25 minutes, which if he does play, I mean, coming back from an injury, I don't know. I've never really seen this dude hurt. So I guess it's possible that even if he does play, he doesn't get his full run. I just find it hard. Like if you're a coach and you got Luka, right? It was an ankle injury. Things are looking better, feeling better. We'll see. I mean, on FanDuel, the price seems ridiculously low not to at least try it. 10.5 for Luka. That seems a little low not to at least try. On DraftKings, 11.8. He's up in the James Harden territory as he should be. So it's a little bit more of a conversation. More importantly, you can see with him being back, Jalen Brunson's like out of the question, right? 6,500 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel. Not to say that I necessarily love Jalen Brunson at these prices of Luka's out, but I think he's back involved, right? Like he's back in the conversation. Kristaps Porzingis has completely balled with Luka out. He is 9K on FanDuel. He's at a point where he might be out of the equation regardless. Maybe not. On DraftKings, though, he's right on that teeter line. Like you play him right now with Luka at 83, but you're gonna like him a lot more at 83 if Luka's out. So very important news if Luka does. And of course, the other value plays. Salon Wright's very cheap. Dorian Finney-Smith is cheap. Like. That's how this team works. Luka takes up so much usage. Lucas and Porzingis together take up so much usage. These other guys are practically useless when they're on the court together. So, again, a game. They're playing the Spurs. Spurs are not a good defensive team. Not a good defensive team. And the total in this game is 226.5. So it's higher than the Knicks game and the Memphis game. This is the second highest total on the slate. There you go. Second highest total on the slate. Mavericks are minus 6.5 point favorites. It's moved from 5.5. I think that's a reflection on Luka. So again, I mean, Luka from a raw point standpoint looking really good. On FanDuel, even with this somewhat conservative minute projection, he's looking pretty good. On DraftKings, if we decide we want to go on him, we're going to raise that. We're going to have to raise it a little bit because he's not projecting well enough. But it could be a raw point situation depending on how the other studs project. But THJ is another one if Luke is out. So if Luke is in, it's really just Luka and Porzingis that I'm interested in. If Luke is out, then yeah, I want Porzingis more so on DraftKings, but in general. And then there's a lot of value we can look at here from the Dallas side. So Luka, we got to know the deal, bro. Be on the Wise stream. Hopefully we get the information on the Wise stream later. Going to San Antonio, we've got DeJounte Murray, right? He looks like a solid play on both sides. The problem with Murray is, even though he's cleared to go 30-something, Pop has got like a really like strong love-hate thing going on with this guy. It's very, very strange. But guards and wings have just sliced up Dallas. They're not a good defensive team. They're not good against, like, they're not a good defensive team against bigs, but they are big. So I think that could be part of the reason that, between Powell, Kleber, Porzingis, that they got some size. So I think that could be why we see wings, but none of them are good defenders. Nobody on the team, really. So I think DeJounte Murray is a tournament play because we're projecting him for 27 minutes. If he plays 27 minutes, this is what he should do, but we don't know he's going to get that 27 minutes. It all depends on how the game goes. But I do like Murray a lot for tournaments. He stands out quite a bit on both sides, being that he's under 6K and is projecting for 5.78 on DraftKings, 5.7 on FanDuel. And again, we'll analyze that minute projection. But it's just hard to gauge. He could play 30-something today and just smash this, but we don't know for sure because if he's not efficient, he can end up getting 25 minutes or less. So DeMar DeRozan's price has come down to a point that is just puzzling. I mean, he just went for 50 DraftKings points, I think, in his last game. And they dropped him to 6,500 on DraftKings and 68 on FanDuel. I'm going to play some DeMar DeRozan. I mean, the price is just too low. He's projected for 32 minutes as of right now. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the Memphis game was a complete blowout. By the way, that game where he balled out and LMA balled out and everybody balled out, it was against Memphis. They blew him out, and they still got there. That's how fast Memphis is playing right now, how little defense they're playing. They got blown out, so that they were in back-to-back blowouts. It looks like 32 is like safe, but if this game stays close against Dallas, maybe he's closer to 33 and a half, 4. I don't know. Rudy Gay is really, really cheap. Now, this is interesting because we've got Gay projected for 21.25 minutes, and that's because he's not been playing a lot. Rudy Gay, put this up, has played 20, 20, 14, 21, 32. Now, I do know this. The last 2 games, I think we have a note from... I guess that Memphis game. He was sick in that Memphis game. And that game blew out. So 2 straight blowouts. He hadn't really had a chance. Now against Brooklyn, I don't like the fact he only got 14. That was disturbing. But he shot 1 for 8 from the field. I think he was just having a terrible game. In 21 minutes against Houston, Rudy Gay went for 37 DraftKings points. So this is a guy we're going to want some of. I'd rather have a little bit of a higher projection to make sure that our optimizers want him in. And then just cap him at a reasonable point, I think. But he's not a guy I want to ignore at 4K and 4,100 because I know what his upside is, and he's playing Dallas. It is a good matchup in terms of defense. The issue, of course, is he seems to be falling out of favor. Maybe he was sick. I don't know, but the minutes are a concern. All right, we've got LMA's prices come up. Nothing more than, to me at this point, more of a tournament deal. I don't mind it, but more of a tournament deal. Not a ton that stands out. We'll go on. Unless we get some news that changes the situation, you know what I mean? Changes some situations for us and whatnot. Some whatnots. All right, we're on to another game, I think, at this point, right? No, Dallas. No, we talked about Dallas. I should have started with the Spurs. I started with Dallas. I fucked that up. All right, Minnesota and the Kings. We'll go to Minnesota. Minnesota, Shabazz. Not on FanDuel, it's not pretty, right? We've already went over DeJounte Murray and Elf, who are stronger plays to me in general on FanDuel, considering he's 4,700 over there. On DraftKings at 3,300, that could be handy here. Against Sacramento, against the Aaron Fox defense, Shabazz has been starting, but he missed the last game because he's been sick. I feel like this dude's always sick. Maybe he needs to go to the doctor. Regardless, $3,300 on DraftKings, way too low, right? Assuming he starts. If he doesn't start, he can play as little as 15 minutes. If he starts, I'm thinking he gets at least to 20, which is enough, man. He's on a court. He produces. He's a good player, at least from a fantasy perspective. Andrew Wiggins, the cat news is pretty big, especially for Shabazz, because every game Shabazz has started, Towns has been out. He had a sprained knee, but it's been some time. He's already missed some games. Phenomenal matchup for Cat if he does come back. Assuming he's fully healthy, you expect the minutes to not be at 32. If he's fully healthy, he's a guy that's going to play 34, 35, something like that on the regular. So that would in turn raise his projection, making him a better play as far as studs go. Jeff Teague's price is kind of floating around 26 minutes. That's just what we've come to as far as, we've seen him get cut. If Towns is out, expect Covington, Teague, Wiggins, Okeke, Napier, all these guys really to go up as far as the projections go. Obviously, Gorgie Dieng, who on DraftKings may be at a point where I'm not, even if Cat's out, I'm going to hesitate, even against Sacramento. I mean, I'll probably play some, but on FanDuel, I wouldn't be scared at all, 49. I like that. But again, a situation where we're going to need this news to really make a definitive decision. You know what I mean? But again, Napier standing out right out the gate. We're going to want to see what news we get. It's a later game, 10 o'clock. Might not have that news in time. But Napier certainly in play on DraftKings. Wiggins will like a lot more if Towns is out. If Towns is in, he could be interesting if he's fully cleared and good to go. But if he's out, then like I said, Napier, Wiggins, Okeke, Covington, these are all guys we're going to come look at. Because the scope of their projection, like Covington projecting for 26.5 minutes, that's because Towns is in. If Towns is out, you would expect him to get a little bit more. See what I'm saying? 30s and 7s. Let's go to the Sacramento side. Oop. Clicking on shit I ain't supposed to click on. So it looks like Bogdanovic is supposed to be. I always because of the madness that he was doing and earlier, I'm going to have to obviously take control of this for Bogdan. Well, before I even say anything, let me look at what he's really done. Because, I mean, if you remember when Fox went out, this dude was just killing it. And then he got hurt. And when he came back, he was terrible. I don't even know. He didn't really miss a ton of time. He was just on a streak of dominance, and then he just hit a wall. So he's still projecting well because of that. I'm think with Fox back and I'm just not crazy about it. Boom. Let's see this. So 26. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I got to do something because his point per minute, etc. is not the same as it used to be. There you go. That's about right now. And this is how it should be. I think De'Aaron Fox is the best play from this team, at least in terms of over the long run, who's going to give you the best returns over the long run. I think it's Fox. 7K, 6.9 on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. Minnesota, right? Whether it's Napier, Teague, not really worried about any of those defenders over there. Price is too low. Uses look great. He just played. Was it Memphis he just played? He just balled out against somebody. I think it was Memphis. Yeah. So it was Houston. So against Memphis, he went for 30 minutes, 37.25 DraftKings points, which was good at his price. Then he was 6'6". Then in 36 minutes against Houston, that's key because that's showing us his minute limitation's been lifted. 36 minutes against Houston, 52.25. Phenomenal. So again, Fox is another point guard kind of standing out. Looking like he's in a really good situation, a really good price on both sides. Buddy Hield's price has come down. He's, scoring dependent for the most part. That's what he does. So we'll have to see how everything ties in. The Kings last year were a nice little mid-tier team. They're looking like that today too. A nice little if you want a mid-tier balanced build, but you want to stack a team, a stack of games, Sacramento's kind of giving you that script, being that a lot of their players are priced somewhere in that mid-tier. We got Bagley, Rayshawn Holmes. They're trying to start Bagley or play Bagley with Rayshawn Holmes, which is kind of interesting. With two bigs down there. So a mid-tier situation. Fox is the standout. The rest of these guys, I'm fine working them into tournaments. Because here's the deal. You're going to want some. You don't want to ignore this game. Minnesota is one of the best teams to target fantasy players against. So you don't want to ignore this game. You know what I mean? You don't want to ignore it. Harry Barnes popping a little bit stronger on FanDuel at 4,700. All right, last game of the night. We got Portland, Utah. Portland, Utah. We've got start off with the Portland side. Hassan Whiteside. Price went down on DraftKings. Not exactly sure why. Matchup isn't the best, but it's not terrible. I'm not totally afraid of Gobert. The problem is Whiteside's not like a finesse type of dude, right? He's just a big guy. He's just a really big guy. So a guy like that, I worry can be a little more neutralized a little more easily by a player like Gobert, right? Like Embiid, I'm not really worried about because Embiid also has some of that finesse. He can shoot. He's got these, and Whiteside is not Joel Embiid. So even though he's projecting well on DraftKings, I'm going to have my reservations about going too heavy. Carmelo is the guy I'm more interested in at 5,800 on DraftKings. So the price seems right. He's projecting well. I think this is one of the more vulnerable places you can attack Utah with Bojan Bogdanovic playing the 4 a lot. And he does play a lot of minutes. We saw Jabari Parker go off against Utah. I'm not saying that Melo and Jabari are comparable, but we know that aggressive scoring forwards can do it. And Melo right now is taking a lot of shots, man. He's taking a lot of shots. He's playing a lot of minutes. I mean, his minute expected 32.25 minutes. That's a lot of minutes. 33.25 minutes. That's a pretty good amount of minutes. And he could end up playing more than that, obviously. So he stands out. McCollum has been just having an awesome year. Dame has been playing well, but inconsistent. McCollum's been pretty consistent. And he's projecting well on more so on DraftKings, but he's projecting well. 6,600. They seem to refuse to raise his price. Maybe because more people play Dame. I'm not sure. Bazemore has been playing a lot of minutes with Hood and all the injuries that Portland has. He's got a very low floor even with the minutes, but certainly in play. They've been playing Skal on the court with Whiteside at times, using Skal at the 4. Now, that's going to go against your Melo shares, but if you're heavy on Melo, you can consider some Skal, because if Melo doesn't get there or Melo gets into foul trouble, we could see Skal playing a lot of minutes at that position. He's been the one picking it up over, Nasir Little and Tolliver and some of these other guys. So, kind of interesting. Late night hammer action against Utah. Melo right now is kind of the standout from the team. Utah, Royce the 5'9". Leading the pack as far as point per dollar on DraftKings. That's never fun. Bojan leading it on FanDuel. I don't mind him. Clarkson. We got to see where Clarkson fits in here. Very curious to see where Clarkson fits. They just traded Exum for him. Exum wasn't really playing much, so we don't know where he fits. I would assume he's going to get worked in, though, because they have an opening for him. Right? They had a void because Mike Conley's been out for so long and continues to be out. They kind of have an opening. They don't really want to play Moutier more than XYZ minutes. They don't really want to play these guys. Clarkson is a veteran. Clarkson can score. Clarkson can distribute. We can't project Clarkson for any substantial minutes unless we hear something because we don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how they use him and to also see how it affects the rest of the Utah team. What happens to Donovan Mitchell's usage? What happens, how often does he play with Clarkson? I would imagine in the beginning Clarkson a little bit more conservative with how he does things, but at some point he is Clarkson. Rudy Gobert is very, very expensive, but he's been playing a lot better lately. And Whiteside is a shit defender. Just a shit defender. So I think he's in consideration for the center mix. For sure. Mitchell's price on FanDuel is pretty interesting. 76 seems low for the usage. Problem with Mitchell is peripherals aren't huge for him. He's going to take a shit ton of shots, but he's got games where he's just super inefficient, and that happens pretty often. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's, the first edition of this. Like I said, try to make improvements as we go and try to see what we can do. Appreciate those of you that did hang out with us live. Hopefully, if we get some positive feedback, we'll try to continue this at least most days during the week. Monday through Friday is really the only time we would be doing it, but we'll see. If I can do it 5 days, I'll do it 5. I can, I won't, but whenever I can, I will, depending on how much you guys like it, depending on how many likes we get, how much hype we're generating around this shit. So, and also I got some background music. If that shit's annoying you, let me know. I play it because on solo videos, I know sometimes it'd be weird with one person. So if you don't like the background music, let me know. I'll take that shit off. I just put it on. I put them on for the core 4 videos because they're quick, but this is a little bit different. So much appreciated, nation. Again, subscribe, notifications bell, like button, all that shit, and let me know in the comments, what you think of the show. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, I'll see you during the Wise stream a little later. And as always, good luck.